Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. My wife and I have an issue with our Model 3. We need some service. The brake is acting a little bit funky. It's kind of hard to describe, but basically the feel of the brake isn't right. So it seems to be working okay in regenerative. You can see the little gray bar, when it goes past regen, and if you really stomp on the brake, it actually stops and everything, but it feels like hard. It doesn't have that sort of squishy feeling. So anyway, about a week ago, I contacted Tesla Service and got an appointment made. Unfortunately, we live in Athens, which is 55 miles away from the nearest service center. So it took a while to get it all scheduled, and we didn't drive the car all that much during the time we were, in between there. But we contacted service, and I wanted to do a video about the service, so I'm doing this on the way to the service appointment. I have been in contact with the service people, so we're just going to do our experience with Tesla service. And while we've got it there, we're also going to get the tires rotated because the car's got almost 13,000 miles on it at this point, so needs its tires rotated. So anyway, that is our situation. Just to fill you in, like I said, about a week ago, we discovered it was behaving oddly. We were just like, we don't quite understand it. It doesn't feel like the brake is depressing right. It just feels very, very solid. And obviously that doesn't make you super confident in it. Now, of course, the brake is not really physically connected to the brake. I mean, the pedal is not physically connected to the brakes consistently. So there is the sense that it's an electronic issue. It's not necessarily the brakes, and the brakes definitely work well. I'm in full self-driving right now, and the brakes work perfectly fine in this. So it doesn't seem to be a safety issue. I did communicate with the Tesla service team and asked them about that, and they were like, from the logs, it looks like it's okay. So you should be able to drive it, so it should be all right. Anyway, so I'm dropping it off in Atlanta at the Church Street Decatur place, and been in communication. Oh, I will tell you one sort of quasi-negative thing about it. The Tesla service experience from the get-go is the first thing they did was gave me an estimate of $1,800 for the repair, and I was like, whoa, this is warranty repair. So I contacted them, and they're like, yeah, this is the way it goes. This is the way we do it, and then once we actually get a hold of it and start processing it, then we say it's a warranty repair. So it's something that Tesla service could probably do to make things a little bit less stressful for the user, is if it's obviously a warranty repair. I mean, the car's got 13,000 miles on it, so clearly it's a warranty repair. But if it's a warranty repair, they should probably immediately identify it as that, so that you don't start looking at this really big bill and you're like, wait a second, where did this come from? So anyway, I would suggest that as a little bit of feedback, and I'm going to give you the positives and negatives as this go. We'll see. I literally don't know what's going to happen in terms of the service thing at this point, but we've had so few service interactions with Tesla that I thought it would be really cool to do this video. But anyway, so that was one thing. The second one, which is a little bit of a stress for me particularly, is that I talked to the service people yesterday. They said that there would be a loaner there because obviously the car's going to have to be in the shop for at least a day. And as it's an hour and 15 minutes or so for me to drive from my house to the service center, I was like, I can't sit there for overnight, right? So I've obviously got to get a car. And they were like, yeah. And then this morning they said, we don't think there's a loaner. And I then had to contact them back and say like, hey, this is not a situation where I really have a lot of choice. My wife is working. I can't take an Uber home that kind of a distance. So then one of the service people called me, and he said, we're going to get it worked out. He's like, we got cars that are normally here, but it's because of the holidays, it's just all backed up and everything. So it's not a normal situation, but he promised that it would get worked out. So hopefully that will, but that again is a slight stress on the whole thing. So anyway, that's as far as I've got right now. So we've got a weird brake issue. Again, doesn't seem to affect the safety of the car. The car is stopping. It's in full self-driving. It's stopping at a stop sign right now. And nothing seems to be an issue with the actual functionality of the brakes. It's just more the feel of the brakes, which is the concern. So anyway, we will see what happens. I will let you know from the service center what's going on. Hopefully I will get a loaner car, because then I will be happy about that. If not, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. But anyway, in the meantime, that's what I got, and to be continued soon. All right, back at you again from Tesla Service Center. Trying to find the Tesla signs out there somewhere. Anyway, you can tell from all the Teslas here. So got a nice Model Y loaner. And actually an interesting story. Originally I got a Model 3 loaner, but it was probably a 2019 Model 3, and the 12-volt battery was dead. It was complaining about that, so they upgraded me to a Model Y. And one interesting little factor about this, if I can show this real quick, is that it actually has my name already there. So that's pretty cool. It's actually got the user's name that is already prefigured into it. So it's got my profile associated with it and everything like that. So that is a really, really nice thing. And obviously the loaner was available, so no problem at all on that. I'm going to drive home. It's going to take, they said 24 to 48 hours to get the car repaired, and then I will come back and let you know. First of all, cost. I did ask to have the wheels rotated, the tires rotated. So that's obviously something that I will spend money on, but hopefully the rest of it should be covered under warranty, since it's only got 12,800 and something miles on it. And it'll be really interesting to see what they have to say about the weird brake issue. So anyway, that's what I got right now, and I will update you when I get the next update. Alrighty, one more quick video. It turned out that my entire display was in Korean because the last person who had used it was using Korean. So this is a little like note to anybody who has that problem, because I don't read Korean. So I was like, oh gosh, so I had to like Google it. You need to go to display, which is this little sort of like, I don't know, a square icon with a brush on it, and then kind of go down to here to eventually you'll see some pop-up menus, and if it's in a language you don't understand, that's the pop-up menu. So a little public service to everybody. That was kind of hysterical that I had to figure out how to do that. I was like, I can't leave this place without putting it in English, because I won't be able to read what's going on. Anyway, it was rather amusing. So anyway, that's it for right now. Hopefully I will get home without further incident. Alrighty, back at the Tesla service center the next day. So I dropped it off on Tuesday. It's now Wednesday. I picked it up. So it took them about 24 hours to do the repair work. I'm going to talk about the repair work on the way home. I couldn't film this while I was driving because this car doesn't have a mount. So obviously I can't hold the phone and video while I'm driving, but I'll talk about that. But I wanted to talk about the loaner experience, which is really remarkable. And it kind of shows how Hertz could actually do a little bit better job. But basically when I got in the car, I didn't need a key. I did have the key, but I didn't need it, but I was able to transfer it over to my phone, so it did the walkaway and all that stuff. But the profile transferred perfectly. The full self-driving transferred, so that meant that as I drove home and drove back here today, I was able to access full self-driving, which was fantastic. That was unexpected, because the big thing with Hertz now is you can scan the QR code and you can actually get your phone attached, which is great. That's halfway there. But the fact that I don't have access to my quite complete profile with all of my history, not as big a deal when you're out of town, but the big thing is the full self-driving. The fact that I have access to full self-driving in the loaner vehicle was fantastic. So really appreciate that. That was a very nice touch on Tesla's part, and the fact that it was all just, you know, done and everything. Also, I think I mentioned this before, but I forgot my key when I came here, because of course I'm so used to using my phone. And so I asked the guy at the service thing, I was like, oh, I forgot my key. Do I need to transfer you the control? He's like, no, we've got it. And when I went back out to the car to go open up the glove box to get my insurance information out, it was already in service mode. So they had already put it in service mode as soon as it arrived. So it's pretty darn cool how efficient that is. Anyway, I will talk about the repair stuff on the way home. In the meantime, I got to go pick up my car and see how it is. And I will say goodbye to the gray Model Y, which has treated me well. So cool. All right, and back in the Model 3 now. So first of all, repair work. It turned out that the problem was that it noted in the thing that it said burnishing the brakes, and I was like, what exactly does that mean? Turns out that basically because you never ever use the brakes, the feel of the brake pedal had just sort of gone sour because it needed to be stomped on a few times. So when I asked the guy, I was like, what exactly did you guys do? And by the way, shout out to Ken and Gabe. I was asked to put a big shout out to Ken and Gabe from the Atlanta service center. They're awesome folks. Anyway, they're great people, but basically what they did was they just drove it around and stomped on the brakes a bunch of times, because the brake and the whole hydraulic line and everything to the brakes had just gotten a little bit stiff. The brakes had gotten a little glazed over. No big deal. Basically, he's like, next time you feel it, just try it yourself a few times. Just, you know, drive up to like 40 or 50 miles an hour, stomp on the brakes and try to get it to like engage the brakes. And it's a weird problem with a Tesla because it's got such good regen braking. It's like you just never apply the brakes really, at least not hard. And so that basically can cause that problem. So anyway, very interesting. As far as the bill was concerned, I had the tire rotation done, so that was $65, so whatever. But they did charge an extra $210, and I just paid it this morning because, again, it's all in the app. You just pay for it. But when I got there, I was like, it's a little weird that you guys charge me, since this seems like this would have been a warranty issue. And so, so they were like, that doesn't seem right. So anyway, they looked at it. They were like, yeah, this should have been covered. It shouldn't have been charged to you. And basically, they just took care of it for me. So they refunded it, even though I'd already paid, refunded it, and only charged me for the tire rotation, which was what I had already expected. So that was, I mean, what are you going to say? It's just like really good. I know a lot of people say, bad issues with service and stuff. The only real significant problem I had was just that weird stress problem when they send you like the estimated bill of $1,800 and you're like, oh my gosh, that's going to cost a lot. It would be nice if they would say something along the lines of, this is the maximum possible if warranty repair doesn't cover it, but the likelihood is that this is going to be a warranty repair or something. They told me that the reason why it had been flagged that way was if somehow in the 13,000 miles we've driven this car, I'd just been stomping on the brakes all the time and the brake pads had worn out. That's what the cost would have been to replace the brake pads. So that was the reason why they didn't just do an immediate warranty sort of repair thing. But basically that was the problem. So he said that's why it had put that initial charge and flagged it, and I'd had to approve that charge, was in case somehow like I was an insane person and just used the brakes constantly. And if that was the situation, then that would have been the problem with it. So anyway, just noting that. But overall, the experience was excellent. The other big negative, of course, for me is that I live in Athens, which is about an hour and 15-minute drive in the middle of the day to Atlanta. It would be lovely. They don't even need a showroom in Athens, but a service center in Athens would be great. I mean, a showroom would be great too. There are a lot of Teslas in Athens now. But that's the other thing I would have to say. Aside from that, the experience was really great. The people are really kind. I talked to them a long time. One of the folks there who was actually in sales had actually gone to the Cybertruck event. He was still wearing his wristband. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. So that's how I noticed it. I was like, oh, you're wearing your wristband still. So, great people. Really enjoyed it. They were all very upbeat. We talked about the Model 3 tax rebate going away in 2024, and one of the folks noted, and I hadn't thought about this, he was like, the Model Y is going to be it's going to be cheaper than the Model 3 now, because with that $7,500 point of sale rebate, you're going to be looking at a situation where with that $7,500 off and a $5,000 difference in price, it's going to be cheaper to buy a Model Y. So he was like, I personally am going to be buying a Model Y in January, when because he was like, I was going to buy a Model 3, but then I looked at it and I was like, wait a second, with all these differences, I'm just going to buy a Model Y in January and get the point of sale reduction. So anyway, I think he gets an employee discount, although I'm not positive about that. I believe they actually do have to pay full price. I think Elon had noted that the other day, that Tesla doesn't get anything. Even Elon has to pay full price for his car. So anyway, overall, excellent experience. I know some people have different experiences, but I am just literally telling you what happened to me. I thought they took great care of me. The hour 15-minute drive each way kind of sucked for having to do that 2 days in a row, but that's not ultimately their fault there. It's just the fact that they don't have a service center closer. And aside from that, it was fantastic. I really appreciated everything that everybody did, so thank you so much. Of course, if you had different experiences, definitely let me know in the comments and everything. While you're down there, please like the video. That would be a very kind thing to do. And in the meantime, I will see everybody else in the next video. Bye-bye.